Are you someone whose business visitor visa was recently refused despite coming from a high-powered company, high-powered job with solid financials, audited accounts? Then this video is exactly this video. Now, first is a case of a business high-powered executive who was a technical manager earning 50 lakhs plus, working for an MNC. They even said that the company has got an invitation letter. They received an invite to visit the UK for say 7 days. They had audited accounts. They had provided that the company will be paying for it, and they had no visa refusals for the applicant in the previous travel history or whatever the previous history of that applicant was. Despite that, the visa officer found grounds to refuse the visa. Now let me explain what those grounds were. First of all, they said the nature of the application states, well, the business visit says that I'm going for a permitted activity, which is to attend meetings. That is perfectly allowed. Now, they said that the meetings, even though you say, it does not give any specifics into it, it's very broad in nature, like why the meeting was being held in the UK, why it cannot be held remotely, why physical presence is required, what was the basis on which this meeting was actually requested. For example, was there a commercial contract in place? Was there a transaction that was in place? Was there a contract that was going to be finalized? There was no specifics provided. So that was the first ground why the visa was refused, and the visa case officer was not satisfied. Second thing was, they pointed out that you have provided audited accounts, you provided that you got fixed assets, balance sheets and all of that for multiple years, and approved by the chartered accountant and a reputable auditor. Still the visa was refused because you failed to provide evidence of readily available funds, which means liquid funds, right? That was not provided. So just because you got a $10 million property, that is not going to secure your visa, because under the rule V4.2E, you must be able to pay for the expenses of the trip, right? And not be dependent on the public funds. If you're being sponsored by a third party, rule 4.3 also kicks in, which means you must have an ongoing professional or personal relationship with the sponsor and explain why the person is paying. Now, professional relationship exists because you're the employee of that company. But the fact that you have not shown readily available funds to that person, and when the funds would be in control of that applicant, was also not shown. That was one of the reasons. Amit is going for a technical presentation to present our product or to audit their, say, products which we intend to buy. But if you have not said that the trip cost would cost you £5,000, for 10 days, £500 allowance would be provided to Amit each and every day, but you've not specified that when those £500 would be in control of Amit. If it's a credit card that you will be giving to the person on which Amit will spend the money, you've not provided the statements, you've not provided the limit of that credit card, you've not provided that Amit is in category say B, his pay scale is this much, and therefore he's allowed to spend up to this amount of money, and that is allocated in the credit card for our employees, and here is the group accounting policy. They did not do that. So therefore that was another reason why the visa was. Another mistake that the multinational company did was not to explain the personal financial circumstances of the applicant. What people fail to realize is, under the genuine visitor, the term that is in Appendix V 4.2 and 4.3, you can see there is a requirement of what qualifies or who qualifies as genuine visitor. They must be able to visit the UK and return back. They must only do permitted activities. They must not do prohibited activities. They must be able to pay for the expenses without being dependent on the public funds. And if you're being sponsored, then you must have a professional or personal relationship. All of that you have to meet. If you do not meet any one of those or more than one, then they've got the grounds to refuse the visa. In this case, they did not explain that Amit personal bank statements were not provided, right? So how much money he was getting, that was not provided in 6 months of bank statement before the application. How much does Amit spend on a monthly basis? There was no clear cover letter provided saying that the total cost of this trip is say £8,000. Amit will not have to pay a single penny for this trip because the flights, hotel stay, mobile would be paid by the third party who have a commercial contract with us, say Carlson Wagonly, who we pay under this purchase order. Here is the quotation of that. Here is our contract, which proves that we will pay that company because Amit is traveling. As far as the daily allowances are concerned, we have provided him the credit card. Here is the limit of that. Therefore, but in order to satisfy the genuine visitor requirement, we are also provided the personal bank statement of Amit. He earns net salary this much. These are expenses, and the net amount of money that is remaining, even if it is low, should not be deemed negatively or adversely because the cost of trip to Amit for this trip is nil, right? You have to be specific and explicit. You must also show that there is the reason why Amit is going is because his job description is this much. Let's say this is what he does, and he provides consultation for specific purposes. For example, he has to go and audit the physical product that we're trying to purchase, and we want to consider this UK based company as our supplier, and we cannot remotely verify this company. Therefore, the physical visit is required and mandatory. And here are the previous communications in the last 3 or 6 months through our process, from the taking a quotation, the size of the company, who are the executives, who Amit will be meeting, on what dates, what venue, right? All of those things. And then to prove the relationship between Amit and his employer, payroll records, the GST registration number, the company registration number, who's the managing director, all of those should have been provided in the concise cover letter. Because it was not provided and they rushed, assuming that he works for a multinational company, the visa was refused. Another classic mistake is people assume that the visa case officers are auditors. They are not auditors. They are not even lawyers. They are trained to apply certain framework which they apply. Now, if you provide a balance sheet, I'm a qualified accountant from England, also beside being a lawyer, and I can tell you they do not understand balance sheets. So if you provide a last 1 year's balance sheet which is audited, great, but convert that into pound sterling also and show them that I want you to focus on current assets in which there is cash at bank, which is there, which clearly is 2 times the current liabilities. Means this is the money readily available to pay for all liabilities within 1 year. We are sufficiently liquid, and here's a letter from the head of finance approving this amount of spend. And then there is a group accounting policy as per Amit's band that limits him to £500 per day spend, and these funds would be in control of Amit from on the date the visa is approved, and he cannot exceed this limit, and there are controls in place that he cannot go above that. For example, if he was to go above £500, then he will have to seek prior approval. Putting such controls and narrative in a cover letter in a concise manner and providing the documentation is going to make you appear credible as a business visitor. But what people make mistakes is that they provide a pile of irrelevant documentation. They confuse quantity with quality, which is not the case, and they do not understand what weightage should be given to what kind of evidence. Therefore, this is not something like how you can do it yourself. Filling up an application form is easy, but to support it and convincingly prove that you are a genuine visitor under the Appendix Rules 4.2 and 4.3 is a challenging task. That's why you need skilled experts. That's why I offer consultation. As much as I would want you to do it yourself, there are certain things that you cannot do yourself. And therefore, you need to bear in mind that if you rush, if you're not thorough, you risk the chances of refusal quite high. And once you get first refusal, there is no right of appeal since 2012. If you apply again too soon without remitting the previous grounds of refusal, you will again be refused. And if you try again, the chances of getting banned are quite high. Therefore, you must bear in mind. So if you like the video so far, please make sure you subscribe to this channel, and your support means the world to me. In this second scenario, this is a situation where a person who is a YouTube blogger and they have income, they have few thousand followers. He is getting some income on YouTube also, and they've been doing this thing for a while. We're traveling countries and making travel vlogs, and they applied for a business visit visa, claiming that they are going there for some kind of brand deal, and they also want to vlog, and the visit visa was refused because they failed to show strong ties to their home country. Now, under the rule of V 4.2 A to E, to be a genuine visitor, you must visit the UK and come back. You must not make frequent visits or make UK as a main home. and you must not undertake prohibited activities. You must only do permitted activities, which is allowed in, say, business PA4 activities, and then you must be able to pay for your trip. Now, this person relied on his own business income from um, social media, and they did not give the specific details of this brand endorsements. They just explained that they offer some services, like they can showcase the brand of a particular product to a lot of travelers who might be interested in buying the product, but there were no specifics provided. That was one mistake. Second, low income, the variable nature of their business meant that some months they were earning 1 lakh, some months they were earning 25,000, and some months they were not earning anything. So by the end of the 12 months, the overall average income was quite low. They didn't even write in the cover letter that their average monthly income is this much, the average expenses are this much, so the net savings per month is on an average is this much. They didn't provide that. Typically in that scenario, they should have taken the help of a third party sponsor, like a family member who had stable history. They failed to provide that. Second, there was no real basis of that business visit. Now, because they were self-employed, they thought that they're going on a business deal, so it's a business visit for you. They rushed into the decision. They got an invitation letter. Again, there was no basis, like in the first one, as to why this meeting was necessary, why physical presence was necessary, and no details of why this person was so-called expert, why he was going. He was going to negotiate a deal, but everything was oral. There was nothing in writing like communications or correspondence, that even if you were trying to do for the first time, that you've exchanged few emails that you provided as a proof that, yes, I'm going there. Now, I also made the point of he did not show strong ties to the country. Now, what it means is, to be a genuine visitor, you must return back to the home country. Now, on surface, this looks really simple, but in the eyes of UK immigration law, this is quite complex. You must show some legal ties or social economic ties that will compel you to come back. For example, you might have a loan agreement. You bought a flat, you have to pay monthly EMIs, 15-year mortgage. You can provide that I have to pay this, otherwise this will be auctioned out. You can show that you have a family, you pay the school fees, you're the sole breadwinner of the company, of the family. You have to pay the expenses. Here's the proof of the school admission. These are my 2 children. I have elderly parents that I look after them. And I have done previous travel also. Because previous travel, if you've done, you stayed within the laws of the local jurisdiction of that country, for example, Schengen state, then you can say that, look, I went for 5 days, I did the same thing, and I came back within time, and I did not work during there, and I worked for a Swiss company or any other company, and I came back and I complied with the local rules and regulations, and that shows that I'm a genuine visitor. They didn't do that. They didn't even write a proper cover letter explaining why this meeting was required, and that's why they refused on one of the grounds. Understand that the immigration officers do not have to find all the grounds to refuse you. Even if they find one grounds under rule V4.2 or V4.3, they can refuse you. Another mistakes he did was he failed to disclose the legal action that was taken, or conviction that was taken in China during the travel, and he did not disclose that. And therefore, when there is a disclosure of are there any convictions against your name in UK or any other country, have you got any, are you awaiting a trial, he did not disclose that, and they deemed it as that was a false statement, and therefore they said that we are going to refuse the visa on those grounds also. So all in all, business visit visa is, even though the term says standard visitor visa, is far more complex than a tourist visa or a family visit visa. Therefore, my recommendation is always to get a consultation from the expert and try to see how strong your profile is. Sometimes it's better to delay the application and prepare. Usually the processing times are between 3 weeks. Just because you're taking a priority service doesn't mean that you will get the decision faster. The faster decision could be a refusal. Don't risk it, because once you get refused and you rush to apply again, you will again meet the same outcome. In every refusal letter, at the bottom it's written your future, what does future, in terms of future, if you were to make a future application, unless your circumstances change, right, you're likely to get the same decision. unless you can substantiate that you have provided some additional evidence or you've rectified those grounds. Therefore, it's all about the credibility of a person. It is not about quantity of documentation, whether you have a property or worth millions of dollars. It doesn't matter, right? You have to make sure that you come across as someone that you're trustworthy. You will visit the country, you will come back, you will not be dependent on their funds, and you are who you are, you say on the paper, and that is verifiable. I hope you've liked the video. This is a short one, but I endeavor every time I make the video, I make a lot of effort to give you insights. It is not possible for me, given the amount of comments I'm getting and the support I'm getting, for which I'm immensely grateful, to offer legal advice or generic, guidance, because each case is specific. I only look at drafting, I only look at documentation preparation, and I look at whether your application is strong enough for you to make the application or not. So if you're someone who's going to make a business visit application, do reach out to me for a consultation, and we take it from there.